them all away. Little children in the street, dying every day. And we all look for something we can never find, and we all need peace of mind. Lonely wretch on the street, looking for love. $20 beneath the sheets. Is this all she thinks of? We all look for something we can never find, and we all need peace of mind. Our lost generation got nowhere to turn. We're filled with I got that wonderful water running through my veins. Maybe that's why I've been having seen.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey, Timmy, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, pretty good here. We got a busy night. I think we got 8 topics to go, and
Yeah,
we got so much going on here, Sean. We should get right into it. Start off with
Well, listen, for the
this-
first time of this show, I can say Cahoes has a good start.
Yeah,
And that good start is right next to us, and you can see him on the screen, and that's John Franier. I
Yeah.
got to tell you something. If you're going to pick a guy to represent the 6th Ward on the council, you're not going to find a guy who loves this island more than him, who has given himself to just do so many things, whether it was Neighborhood Watch when he was in the county legislature. This is just a great guy. And I'm really happy to see that John is the guy they picked to represent the city, at least for the next, couple months? What's it?
probably 10. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
10 months. The end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also want to say something because it's a little strange to me because I don't understand it. And maybe you can help me and try and
Yeah.
understand this, because if you're going to pick somebody to run for office or put somebody in as a holder, why would you pick somebody who's not going to run? It doesn't make sense to me. Now, I love John Franier. In fact, I'm going to send him 100 messages every day that says run, 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 run.
Yeah.
But he's made it clear that he wasn't interested in running. And I can't figure that out, because think about it. It takes a long time. Your term's for 4 years because it takes a long time to get things done in government, right?
Yeah, and I
And
think part of it was that everybody really got short notice, so they can't look 10 months down the road or
well,
even
yes,
3 or
you
4
can.
months
That's
down the road.
when people are running for the spot. If people go to advocate for that spot, they put in their resume the city asked for, or whatever it was that they said. Hey, we need to have this for us to interview. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
you say we want somebody who's going to run? Are you going to run?
Yeah.
Why? I'm just asking. Why wouldn't you? Because think about this.
Yeah.
Let's just say there's a real important issue like $1 million for an ambulance, and you're going back and forth for 2 months, and now it's at the end of the
Yep.
year.
And they did ask people during these interviews if they were running, so
Yeah.
Why that in a resume, I don't know, but they ended up picking a pretty good guy.
Well, they picked a great guy, and I can only hope that he runs. But it just, this has nothing to do with John himself because I'm
Yeah.
excited that John is in. But the question is,
Hmm.
A, why would John take it if he knows he's not going to run? B, why would the city and the Democratic Party, if they were part of this process, want somebody who's not going to run? When you want somebody that gets in there and hits the ground running and hopefully stays for the 4 years because listen, you get engaged in these in the dialogue and the budget process and all that, and all of a sudden, boom, you're gone. Somebody new comes in, they have to start from scratch. So
Yeah.
to me, it's
I
just a little
get it.
odd. Maybe that's how they wanted it, but it's kind
That's
of
what
odd to me.
happened. But him getting sworn in wasn't without controversy, though.
I didn't. So tell me, I don't know enough about it because I wasn't really engaged. What was the
Well,
controversy?
basically, I mean, he was sworn in, and Mayor Keeler is sitting there while he's taking the oath on his cell phone.
Well, listen, we
There it
haven't.
is.
There he is. We have to have a picture. Listen, to me, it would be exciting to see finally somebody's in. I'd want to congratulate him. I'd be excited for him. This should be an exciting process, right? It shouldn't be
Yes.
one where you're not even paying attention and you're on your phone texting somebody saying, "Oh shit, it's not the guy that I wanted."
Yeah. So kudos for John. And here Lori's doing her job, swearing him in, and this guy here could care less. Okay.
Well,
N-
what do you expect?
You
Listen,
know.
if you don't listen, I know you know, but I hope the
Yeah.
listeners know this is going to go down in the history of one of the biggest freaking scams in the city. And I'm saying history, right? You got a
Yeah.
guy who runs, you got a guy that wins. He wins the primary, he wins the general election. The mayor congratulates him, pats him on the back. And then the first time he doesn't vote the way the mayor wants to because he votes lapdog
Yeah.
Billy McCarthy out of the president's seat.
Yeah.
They go after him and threaten his job and his livelihood.
Yeah. And that's
And then,
exactly what he did. Yes. Yes.
right, and this is no disrespect to Justin, but right now Justin's got his petitions out and he's going to run again. So
Hmm.
you don't see the irony in all this. You don't see the bullshit in all this
Yep.
because to me this is pure
Especially
bullshit.
right, especially the people on the sixth ward. Okay, I mean they had this thing stolen from them, and for Justin to be, and again, no disrespect, but to me to be so ignorant, okay, to do something like that, it makes no sense. Why we would even put the people uh, in a position like that on the sixth ward, just makes no sense to me.
Well, because it's not about the people, right? You
No,
all you
it's
do is look around the city and see how
yeah,
quickly it's gone, right? From a city that was an old mill town to a city that was making national news for its
well, the
rebirth
growth, yeah,
to a
the growth,
city that's back to probably worse than it was before the rebirth, right? And probably
yeah, it is.
worse than anybody else from McDonald and
Yeah,
all the way back.
and people are saying it all the time, Sean. Okay, worse than ever. Okay, is
Yeah,
what
and
I'm
this guy
saying.
could care less, and he's probably
You
on the
know,
phone right now saying, "Oh man, I got to
yeah,
get this guy Frainer out of here. Who are we going to
yeah.
get
How
elected?"
do
But
I? He's probably was texting Kremer saying, "Hey, dig something up on Franier." You know?
hey, so listen, congratulations, John. If you're listening to the show, we're going to try to invite John on and talk to him because I love to say, John, tell
Yeah,
me a little bit about why you took the position if you're not going to run, and what are you going to do, over the next 8, 9, 10 months. I really like to hear from him. So,
yeah,
and if anybody decides to run, maybe we should invite them on too and hear
yep,
why they're running and what they plan on doing because
yeah.
I
We'll
think
do
it's
that.
really, yeah, I think it's important for the city of Cohoes to know. I think people really need to know who's running, why they're running, and maybe this will be a great platform for
Sure. If
everybody
you
to
want to
watch
speak for the
because
people, you want to speak for the people. You got an open floor right here. Come on.
well, we got 40,000. As a matter of fact, Timmy, I was just going to tell you, I just got the email today saying that last month we hit 50,000 viewers. So
Oh,
this is a place to come if you want to showcase yourself. 50,000 people every month watching the show. And so I want to jump over to something that says, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, jump over to our YouTube, hit the little subscribe button. That's going to make you part of the team. Hit the little bell. That's going to notify you every time one of our new shows pop up so you don't have to look for them. and join Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit. I think we're the fastest growing podcast in the capital region. You know, we got a lot of guests that are lining up. We got a lot of things to talk about. We still want to focus on our city and continue to expand about other things that are going on in the capital region. And one of those things, Timmy, is kind of sad, and I want to jump over to it real
Yeah,
quick.
we're in a dog ward right now.
Yeah, this is a
The
dog
dog.
ward, right? So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, this dog passed away. But let me just run the video real quick so people who haven't seen it and don't know about it, and there's some questions, but let me
Told
just
you
run.
at 5:30 that Blake the Labradane was stabbed by an intruder who trespassed on a family's property. Kevin and Christine Carmel were on vacation in Jamaica when it happened. The intruder stabbed the dog in reaction to him barking. Blake is now in critical care, and they tell me he is their 1-year-old daughter's best friend. The Carmels are both first responders. Kevin is a firefighter, and Christine works for Albany County 911 dispatch.
Pretty
Now,
sad. what
Kevin's a
happened.
great guy, right?
Yeah, he is, yep.
You know, I know him personally because I hired him as a firefighter. I put him on the job, right? He's a great kid, and I feel horrible, and I'm sure everybody in this community is saying the same thing. They feel horrible, but I was a little taken back by by this news media, because when they said there was an intruder, I don't know. I graduated with a 70 average, so I ain't the smartest guy in the show here, right? But to me, an intruder is somebody that breaks in your house, isn't it? Somebody tries to
Yeah.
get in your house to commit a crime. That's
Went
an
on your
intruder.
property, try to break in.
But I think
yeah,
somebody
like that.
walking across your lawn or next to your property is probably
Yeah.
somebody who's trespassing. But to make it sound like somebody's breaking in somebody's house and they stab the dog, I think that may be a little different. But it doesn't matter. I think what really matters is this, right? I don't know what happened. I don't know if anybody seen it. I don't know if they know exactly what happened. It's a tragedy. This poor family lost its dog. This poor dog was stabbed and died. And if somebody did this because, well, the dog came after me, I was afraid for my life. I thought he was going to bite me. Don't you think that if you stab the dog, the first thing you do is call the cops?
Pretty heinous thing, Sean. And
Yeah.
m-
Well,
my my
heinous
my
if it's
thinking along is dogs are defensive in nature. In nature, they're more defensive. They're going to protect their owners or properties and things along that line first. So, typically, unless you're really doing something to threaten them, they will not go after you.
well, let's just say, for all intents and purposes, since I have no idea what
Yeah.
happened, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say it was the dog jumped over the fence and went after the guy.
hmm
If that happened to you and you stabbed the dog because you're afraid, wouldn't you still call the police and say a dog just attacked me and I stabbed it?
Yeah.
I mean,
would
you
think
wouldn't
so.
just stab a dog. So
And
whoever
just
did
walk away.
this, that's
Yeah.
right. Whoever did this again, and I don't know how it happened and why it happened,
Yeah.
but it's a tragic story in our city. But for God's sakes, the guy should have called the police. And that tells me that he's not a good person. That tells me that maybe the dog didn't do anything so bad that he had to stab it. And maybe the guy was walking across their lot or part of their land, and maybe he was
Yeah.
trespassing. Forget about all that. Forget about the bullshit. You stab the dog, call the cops, and say you stabbed them. And until you have the courage to do that, now I hope the police find the son of a bitch
Right.
and charge him with a crime, because obviously he was on their property. But for what
Yeah.
reason did he stab the dog? I don't know.
Yeah, no idea. So if you really look at what's been going on in Cohoes overall. I mean, shortly after, while this was going on, there was a shooting again down on Ontario near Dollar Tree, not at Dollar Tree. I came out of Dollar Tree and I heard the gunshots. Okay,
So,
so but I mean, here my week was a deer gets killed, a dog gets killed, gunshots going on. I mean, what the hell is Cohoes coming to, Sean?
Well, I don't have the answer for you, Timmy, because
Yeah.
it's just seems to be unraveling really quick. Now, you did tell me that you thought they shot at you because you had a Sean Moore shirt on.
Yeah, I was
Oh
wearing
my!
a Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit shirt.
I
You
wouldn't
know,
doubt it. Somebody set it up to go after you.
yeah, and I looked down Olmsted Street because when you hear a gunshot like that, your instinct is to duck. Okay,
Well, you
so
already know that Olmsted Street is a train wreck, right? You already
yeah,
know that over by that little store Munchies is the
yeah,
train wreck.
yeah,
I'll be honest with you. People may think that when you go to these Dollar General stores that they're
yeah,
getting things cheaper. They're really not. They're just getting cheaper things cheaper, right?
yeah,
You go buy a pan to hold your turkey. If you don't hold the bottom up, the turkey going to fall through the pan. And I'm going to be honest. I personally would not have and did not put that store there because I was afraid of what would happen with that type of store. And what you're seeing is exactly why major cities try to put those stores in the poorest areas, right? Because that's where they expect all this stuff to happen. To me, I didn't want to have that store there because but you know what? People think they're saving money. People think it's a great store. All I know is that around those stores, you're always going to find trouble.
and
And
you
I
very well may
researched it.
be.
I researched it for a year and a half because I said, would this be a benefit or is this really a hindrance to us? And sometimes you have to say, I'd rather have a vacant building until I can find the right fit than to have a store that's going to just bring trouble to my city. And if you look around that whole area, it's nothing but trouble. And so people, be careful out there because again, these are just random things happening out in the middle of the streets. Now, whether it was a
Yeah,
real gun or not, I don't know. I heard it was a gun. I heard it was a starter pistol because they couldn't find the bullets. Maybe you don't find the bullets because it didn't hit nothing. Maybe the guy's
yeah.
a pretty shot.
It was a pretty loud shot, Sean. It was so loud, it sounded closer to me like a rifle
Yeah.
or something like that because, I shoot guns, okay? And I go to the range and stuff like that. And that was a pretty loud shot. And I only heard one, but I heard there was two shots that went off. So either one went off while I was in the store or when I got in the car and drove off, another one might have happened, but I didn't hear two. I heard one for sure.
Yeah. And look, and I really don't know. All I know, Timmy, is that is is for me, the city doesn't seem to be the same city just a few
Well,
short years ago. I mean,
you
it's
got to question your public safety now,
you really do, and you got to be careful walking the streets, man. And there's all
and
kinds of bad things happening. So just
right.
pay attention. Don't go out in places by yourself if you're a young woman at night.
Mm,
Pay attention, man, because everything in this world is getting a little creepy, man. And
it's yeah, I agree. Yep.
you know, I mean, the city, you got a mayor who's the most vindictive bastard I ever met in my life, right?
Oh,
Let
he
me just
certainly is.
let's just talk about what he did up on the orchard, right?
Yeah.
You sent me some pictures. I didn't have a chance to put them up on the show,
Right. I
but
just sent them to you. What it was, 20 minutes before the show.
yeah, and I didn't have a
Compliments of
chance
one
to
of
put
our
them up.
viewers.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll post them on my Fifth Ward page. This is gonna piss off an awful lot of people.
So just basically tell me the story. So basically, you can only get one. It's hard to park in that street. It's an old
Well,
horse and buggy street, right?
I'll
Just like
summarize it real quick, right?
yeah.
It was Orchard Street, and just as you make a turn there, there's a tight little area where there's no parking. Okay, um, so there's a very small parking lot right there. It's a municipal parking lot to get cars off of the street when DPW comes down to plow snow, garbage trucks and stuff, and the residents park there. It's no different than municipal parking on Remsen Street or other areas. Okay, it's to get the cars, give the cars a place. So this is used by the residents, okay? And they all use it. They got a place to park. Then what happens, Sean? Go ahead and elaborate. You know more.
Well, so what I was told. Well, I wasn't
Yeah,
told. I just seen the signs, right?
yeah, they
Basically,
speak for
the sign.
themselves.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was because people complained that it wasn't being plowed. King Keeler, Mr. Happy, Mr. I'm here
Yeah,
for the people, went
yeah,
up there and closed down the parking lot, put signs up saying no parking,
yeah.
and
We
put it
read
up for
with the
sale.
right with cones. This is the type.
Uh,
This is the type of person who just doesn't get it. He lives in his own bubble up there on Western Avenue. Okay, taking in 200 grand a year, getting DPW to work on his property and sending out Christmas cards on the taxpayer. This is a clueless guy. And when is this damn council gonna fight back and say enough is enough?
Yeah.
That's parking lot is on sale, but it doesn't go on sale unless the council approves it. So I'm telling you, council, right now, when that comes on up before you, you guys take a stand and say sorry. That's not for sale. Protect the residents, especially you, Mr. Rizzo. That's in your ward. Okay, enough's enough, and and it's got to end.
Yeah, it does have to end. And again, it's just another example of the hatred for the people because for
Yeah.
Christ's sake, it's the people he's supposed to help. When you take the job as the mayor, everything should be about how to better the lives of the people. Not skipping cohoes, kids to be firefighters to hire a buddy in Albany or Schenectady,
Mm.
not closing down the place where they park because somebody said, please, it's not been, plowed. Can you please plow it? Everything that the citizen does that pisses him off, he takes it
Mhm.
away like you're a little kid. I'm going to take the ball and you can't play with it. I mean,
That's exactly how he is. Okay, looking down his nose at people since he been a Cohoes police. Okay, when your whole life is focused on punishing people that go about their everyday business. He's doing it now as an adult, as a mayor. Okay, he's got one focus, and that's to harm people in some way
well,
if he don't
yeah,
get his
it
way.
just
It's
doesn't make
awful,
sense, right? He talked
awful.
about bullies. I think this guy's a bully
He-
beyond bullies, and
yes, he is.
and he's certainly taking care of himself and his family by
Yeah,
handing out every
his
job that he
days
could
are
think of.
coming, Sean.
Yeah, well,
His days
I
are
just
coming.
wish that he would sit back and take a look at what he's doing and say, hey, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Surround yourself with good people because the greatest leader is not the smartest leader. He's the smart enough to surround himself with the best and the brightest. That's what you have to do. This guy is
Mm.
just, he's as dopey as he looks, man.
Yeah.
He has no clue what he's doing. And it's sad.
Well,
And I
it's
feel
just taking,
bad.
I mean, the slap in the face of John Frainer. Slap in the face of this guy taking the oath, and here he is on his cell phone and going through paper. So disingenuous and disinterested. It just speaks of the guy's character. You know, and
Yeah.
I hate to keep coming on here every week and just keep bashing this guy, but you know, Sean, he earns it, and he earns it every single week.
Yeah,
You know,
it's too bad. So for the people who live up in the orchard, I don't know. If I was
we're
up
gonna
there,
fight for you too. Yeah,
yeah, I think. Well, that's the guy who took Billy Smith's position, right?
yeah, yeah.
This is
Nick.
what's his name, Mister
Nick
Izzo.
Izzo. Yeah,
So
go in
Mister
there and do
Izzo's a
something.
young guy. He's now the council member. He should be up in arms, saying, "Wait a minute, hold on, brother, time out. These are my people. You didn't even come to me to tell me that you're closing down the parking lot there." And
Yeah,
so
Nick. Yeah, Nick, go get those cones and move them.
well, somebody just said to me, and I want to read this.
Yeah,
Bobby Scanlon says his reputation wasn't so good as a state police either, in the state police
yeah,
either. I've heard that so many times. I heard he was
yeah,
just a dope pencil pusher, did
yeah,
nothing. Listen, the guy's had the silver spoon. He's had money his whole life. He grew up in a decent neighborhood in the city. Every position that he got was given to him. He didn't earn these positions.
yeah.
He
Hand it to
had
him. Yeah.
political favors all the way up until he was to the top of the state police. And I'm not begrudging him, man, because you know what? To the victor goes the spoils. And if you're in that mix, you're going to get some good things handed to you. But the reality is, if you don't know what the hell you're doing, we are going to be the recipients of that. And you're seeing that right now in the city of Coast. So Izzo should be calling him up saying, why would you go and do this without telling me? Now I got to go justify to the people why you did it. And now I got to advocate on their behalf. So Izzo, get up there to City Hall and take the battle on and say, you're not selling this. I'm going to get the support on the council, and you're going to freaking take the time in the winter to plow it like we've done for 50 years. That's
Yes.
what this
Yep.
Izzo guy has to do. And I
That-
really like to see if he does it because King Keeler has no right to just keep shitting on the little guy. That's for damn
and,
sure.
and that's what's happening. Yep.
So,
Hey,
hey,
Sean,
Timmy.
look at we've got another big topic here. I believe that we're ready to shoot out. It's about the water, but it's usually it's people say what's in the water, but in our case it's what's not in the water, folks. Isn't that
So-
a true statement?
It's a true statement. And so
Yeah.
listen, a couple people called me that actually here's how weird it is. Usually we get inside information from people that work here, but this was two people that don't even work for the city. And
Yeah,
so I sent you on a mission to do a little digging, right? To
yeah,
make
we
sure we
did, and
understand.
I got it.
So tell me a little bit. Let me just lay it out, and then you go ahead and tell me
Yeah, and
what
I'll
you
let you
know.
know what I know,
Yeah.
and
So first of all, the filtration plant has been run with people that are not qualified to run it, right? I was told that the people they hired to run it failed the test. Now I don't know if that's true, so I'm just going to ask if anybody knows to let us know. I'm not going to say that's factual because I don't really know if it's factual. But I heard they failed the test, so what they did is let them take a second test with the open book. Now I get it. I'm okay with the open book because I probably wouldn't have graduated if I couldn't sneak in and look at the book.
yeah,
But when you're
yeah,
running people's water, when you're drinking water is being run by people that have to go look at the book every time about what chemicals, what's going on. But I was told that on two separate occasions we had issues with chemicals not going in the water. I was told there was a flood and all the dirty water that flooded inside that freaking shithole of a building that
yeah.
seeped into all of the drinking water. But tell me a little bit about what you know, Timmy.
Well, basically, what I know, okay, and we protect our sources that a whole shift, at least 8 hours, they were not putting chlorine in the water, okay, and I'm gonna go further into that too a little bit towards the end of this thing because what you got is you got our DP commissioner allegedly, okay, going up there and he's tweaking the chlorine so much that he's getting complaints from Waterford saying there's too much chlorine in the water now. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what's going on there. And then, there's
Why
supposed to
is he?
be
Well, let me
alarms
just
and
stop for 1 second. Why is
yeah,
he tweaking anything? He's not even
mm-mm,
qualified. You have to have a license to touch that shit. You,
yeah,
you can't
yeah,
just be
and
on the DPW commissioner and I'm going to go adjust the chlorine that you're drinking. That's just
yeah,
that's nonsense. Somebody should call the Department of Health. A matter of fact,
and I
I think
believe
we should.
I believe they did. And I know that there was a complaint with CSEA and to meet with Keeler and DPW Commissioner Hennessy on this, and they ignored the letter. They
Listen,
never
last
bothered.
time somebody met with Hennessy,
Yeah.
right? They
Hmm.
had a little man to man kind of like, I'm throwing you out. Yeah, go throw me out, whatever. The shit
Yeah.
that I've been involved with in unions my whole life. And they suspended the guy because Hennessy felt threatened. Here's
Yeah.
the big bad bully, like threatening,
Yeah.
I'm going to fire you because you said to me, throw me out. What a
Yeah. Yeah.
shitbag to do, right? What a
Yeah.
shitbag thing to do to somebody.
Yeah.
You,
One
you,
time he was a pretty good guy, but not anymore.
Listen, he was one of my closest friends. He came and
Yeah.
did all the work on my land. He was a
Yeah.
yeah, but he got a little power. Now he seems like he's I don't even know what you would say. Uh but he's a
Over his head.
bully.
Yeah, he is. And so look at then the plant gets flooded somehow. Okay. So that you had the potential of all that contaminated water that's all over that plant. For if anybody's been inside that place, it looks like it's 1920s because it
Well,
is.
it is,
So
isn't it?
now, yeah. So you have all that flooded water there that
Dirty,
could
filthy.
have could have mixed in with the clean fresh water
No, it
that
did mix in.
it did mix in.
My
I wasn't
sources
sure.
say that it flooded on the floors and therefore
Yep.
the floors are, have big
Yep.
beds in them, so it just falls
Yeah.
into the water. So
Yeah.
what does it mean when you're drinking freaking water for 8 hours with no chlorine? I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
the
And
public should have known.
right. And another thing that happened as well, Sean, is they went for a good, say, 16 hours without putting in the necessary chemicals for the organics that are in that water. Okay. So that didn't get done. Okay. They went on for 16 hours. And normally, what the organics would be, I would imagine, would be algae and things like that that would be living in the water.
Yeah,
So that
well,
didn't happen. So that went on for two shifts. Then they had to pay 16 hours plus overtime, okay, to deal with the water. So the as as the information came in, we basically said, look, the water quality was 20 times worse than it would normally be when it's sent into the distribution system.
what does that
And
tell you?
yeah, so I mean, so what's it tell you? I mean, that alone, and people should be. So I don't want to come out here and say to girls, don't drink the water, but I don't.
Well, so basically
Yeah.
Don't you think it's incumbent upon the city to at least say, hey, there was no chlorine in the water for 8 hours? People are going to find out. So why
Hmm.
don't you just come out and say, hey, I'm going to put a little notice out that it doesn't have no effect. It's okay. It's fine. And
Well,
just
they
tell
do.
people. Because
Right.
now
Well, they
everybody's
do.
asking the question: did we drink bad water? Did we feed? Did we
Yeah.
put bad water in the baby's bottle? Again, it's just failure to communicate causes problems.
Yeah, and look at when you get a pipe break and they repair the lines, they send out a notice to everybody as best they can, saying, "Look at, boil your water or run your water to get whatever brown is in the water." But now there's it's coming right out of the filtration plant, okay,
I know it's
and
crazy.
getting into the system itself. So that did happen. If you're listening to this podcast, okay, you probably didn't know about it if you're the majority of people out there, but we're telling you now. This is the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. And look at all of our whistleblowers, Sean, we conceal that information. At least
Yeah,
I do.
absolutely. I'm just
You know, I protect I protect our sources, and I'm going to
so
continue to do so.
here you are talking about the water and how unsafe it is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I get a message, Sean, you got a shitty background. You got to get a background like Timmy. I don't have a fake background, Tim.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm using my office.
I'm using artificial intelligence green screen. I think what I'm going to do next week, I'm going to put myself in the White House Oval
You ought to
Office.
put
How's that
yourself
sound?
in the city hall down in the mayor's office.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I could do that actually too. Yep. I'll
I
put
just
myself in council chambers. I'm going to be acting mayor for a podcast.
so Sean Van Sleet just sent a message saying Nick Eyes have
Yep.
responded to me. He's not happy about the issue and is looking for answers because he wasn't notified. I hope so.
Good
I
for
mean,
you, Nick.
a lot of people blow smoke and mirrors. Let's see if he really is upset and
You know
finds
what?
the answers.
Right. And Nick, you know what? Don't be bullied around by anybody. Go down there. You are the torch bearers for the people in the first ward right now. So stand up for them and say, no, no, no. Go down there, grab those cones and signs and toss them off to the side. That parking lot is not closed.
The parking lot is not closed.
That's what I would do in a microsecond.
Yeah, that a boy, Timmy. Get the guy in trouble,
You
right?
know me. Hey, bring it on. You and I like to get in fights.
I think
Okay.
it's just important for people to know that the chlorine wasn't going in the water. I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
what it
true.
means. Maybe you should text the mayor and ask him why people weren't notified. Why did 24-hour shifts go and they didn't tell people that the chemical that takes out all of the other
Yeah, the organics and
organics
all that stuff. Yeah,
wasn't
wasn't.
running? Why
Yep.
was it so
The
why was it
alarms
that
aren't
the
working.
right. Why was it that the alarm didn't call people like it's supposed to?
Hmm.
Before all of those things should be, well, I should say, before we start putting solar panels all up in our water, we should make sure that the basics, like the drinking water that we have,
Yeah,
is safe enough to drink. Because I can only imagine what's going to happen when you cover that place with these solar panels and there's, a big
yeah,
black um, cover
yeah,
over the top of it, and there's shit growing in it, and birds are shitting on it, and animals are crossing it. It's just a
yeah.
train wreck with no
It's
communication.
all that will happen. And look at. I mean, the birds are going to land on that. They're going to nest in that. Okay, and this is just the nature of wildlife itself. They're going to
I'm going to
find that
reach out.
as a habitat. But look at Hennessy. If you're listening, you got to stop messing around with that chemical. From what we're being told, okay, I don't know whether it's true.
Right,
It's
because
alleged, but
you
but
have
but word is you got your hands in everything over there, and you don't need to be.
well, you have two problems, right? You have the
Yeah.
problem with, first, you don't put enough stuff in,
Hmm.
and so is the water safe? And then you
That,
oversaturate it, so people who are buying our water, including Cohost people, feel like they're drinking Lansing's pool. So
yeah, yeah,
get it
and there were
fixed.
complaints about that.
Yeah, just put people in there that know what they're doing. That's the problem with the
Hmm.
city of Cohost. Two
Yeah.
people think they know everything. If you
Hmm.
realize you don't know shit and you hire good people, this whole thing would turn around.
And there's been no supervisor in that building for I think about 2.5 years now, Sean.
Well, somebody on Facebook says because the people who know what they're doing are suspended. Well, I just told you they suspended somebody because
Yeah.
that person supposedly threatened Steve. Steve, I think, Steve is not a little kid. I can't
Hmm.
believe he'd be worried about being threatened because somebody said, throw me out of the meeting, asshole.
Hmm.
Listen,
Yeah.
I give John McDowell some credit, man. I used to slam his door so hard that his teeth shattered.
Yeah.
We'd have a blowout back and
And
forth.
he comes on the podcast.
Well, not only did he come on the podcast, but you know what he'd say? Well, these meetings get a little heated. That's what people do when they're
Hmm.
passionate. Steve
That's
Hennessy,
what.
Steve Hennessy, and the asshole who's the mayor want to fire the people.
Yeah,
Think of
because
all.
they're babies.
Yeah, they're babies. They're
They're
they're a bunch.
babies.
Yeah, they're a bunch of little whiny babies that
Bunch of whiny little
just
babies. You know what?
just treat people with respect.
And people, Sean, you and I, we have our little exchange. They never get heated, but we don't always see. But you know what? Men being men, we're gonna fight back and forth. You stand your ground, I stand my ground, but we stick together and
Timmy,
and try
somewhere
to.
along the line, we must not stick to our position always because we wouldn't have a podcast, right? We find
Yeah,
happy
yeah,
mediums.
yeah.
I've always found
That's what we
happy
do.
mediums. I'll fight to the
We
tooth.
have a conversation.
Yeah, I'll fight to the end. I'll fight with every vigor I have when I think I'm right. But even if you're right, even if you know you're 100% right, but it takes the other side to get anything
Yeah,
done, sometimes you got to give up and say, okay, I'll be 90% right. Let him be
yeah.
10% right. Let's
Yeah,
figure out the answer.
what we call that. We call it winning the peace.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
and
I,
and that I prefer to find a way to win the peace. Okay.
let me jump over to the next topic, Timmy, because this one's really
Yep.
disheartening to me.
Yep.
It really is. So we just found out just not too long ago that Mohawk Paper, a staple in this community, has been sold right
Yeah.
to another company, one of these large companies. I think it's a
Out of
company
Italy, I guess.
from
Yeah.
Italy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's some confusion because Mohawk Paper has there's Mohawk Paper, and then there's Crane, right?
Crane is another company.
Crane
Yeah.
is a sub. Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's the right term. Crane is a subsidiary of Mohawk Paper, meaning it's just another part of their business, right?
Yeah.
And I think they make like wedding invitations and a few other things, but
Yeah.
it was a losing proposition. They were losing money, and the company that sold it was losing money. So soon as the purchase was made by this Italian company, and without any notice from Mohawk Paper, from at least the people I talked to, and what a
Hmm.
shame! What a shame it would be for
Hmm.
a bunch of very, very rich people to shit all over the people that had worked for them for all these years and not even let them know that this was happening. But from the stuff I see here, from the stuff I see from I think it's Ohio, all of the customers that were complaining they weren't notified, the employees told they weren't notified. Well, anyway, this Crane laid off 76 people. I'm going to use that number very loosely because it could be 67. I forget what I read, but they laid off every worker. Okay. Um, Gave them their severance packages and away they go. Now, I'm told as of today from Inside Scoop um, that there's a local person that wants to buy Crane, keep it in the city of Cohoes, and get it back up and running. And it may be the person who was once the CEO of Crane. I'm not sure if that's all just, conversation or if it really will happen. And now I hope it does.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
As for the workers at Mohawk Paper, they're not going to lose their jobs because this company bought Mohawk Paper because they have some great workers that make great products and they want to add them products to their arsenal and sell their products, right? And they want the best and the brightest to make that paper. But here is what's going to happen. Mark my words. You heard it here for the thousands of people who are watching this show. If anybody works at Mohawk Paper, chime in. But mark my words when I tell you that it is going to be where Mohawk Paper moves out of Cohoes, goes over to Waterford, moves all of its people over to Waterford, and leaves Cohoes with this old mill that won't be paying shit for taxes, certainly won't be paying the $250,000 a year that they pay in water and sewer. And the city taxpayers are going to be on the hook. Huge operation. Now, we already know that mismanagement has cost us $1 million a year for an ambulance. We know that we just got to pay $80,000 more to the mayor because he took a nice raise, $40,000 to his daughter who got a nice raise. We also know we got bonds out there that we have to pay that are not making the money that they're telling people
for
they're
LED
making.
street lights. Yeah, for
Right.
the
There's a whole
LED.
host of things going on financially that will eventually collapse. It's easy to say I'm not raising your taxes with smoke and mirrors and bullshit. But when the city's blowing the money that it's blowing now, then all of a sudden, guess what? The
It's gonna
shit
come
hits the
crashing down. Yep.
fan. Yep, the shit
Yeah,
hits
it's
the
gonna.
fan, and
Yep.
something like this happens. And
Yeah.
Mohawk Paper
And,
is
and
sold.
keep in mind, okay, with this floating solar, they're only using 60% of it. So they got to. That's what they're saying. They have no fire plan if anything goes up in flame over there. So there's no fire plan at all. They don't even know how they're going to get to it. If there was something, because it would be an electrical fire. So there's a lot of questions going on, and now that system is going to be on top of our water, which we're not chemically treating right.
Well,
Jesus.
we have all these problems. I think when I said to you and everybody else in this city a few years ago, when I said,
Yeah.
when you go out and you hire political buddies like they did with Steve Napier,
Yeah.
who has no business being in a economic development director's position because he doesn't know shit about economic development.
It doesn't.
He had no skills in it. I don't even think the guy's ever had a job. And the jobs that he did have, and I'll stand corrected, Steve, I don't know if it's factual, other than you being a political hack, making political flyers and running political campaigns, I don't think you ever had any kind of job in economic development. In fact, when I was the mayor of the city, he was on the council, I used to listen to his bullshit, and I could see the birds spinning around his head like cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo.
John,
'Cause
I
they
was
were
there
just
at one
stupid.
meeting. Right, I was at one meeting and he's sitting there and he's reading by a little, like a 3x5 card like this, and he goes, "I'm giving you my report." He reads this line, this line, this line, this. No documents, no records, and he goes, "And that's my report. Thank you, guys." And it's just insane what's going on here. He has no qualification. And really, ask yourself this: has there been any economic development in the last 5 years
Listen,
since he's
any
been in?
economic development that they did, I
It
did.
takes a long time.
It
Yeah.
takes 3, 4, 5 years to get from A to B, right? So
Yes,
things
it
that were
does.
happening, but these guys have done nothing. And all
Nothing.
they, but I guess my point is, if Mohawk Paper was going to close down, I'd
Mhm.
be spending every waking moment I can to try to figure out how to keep them here. Now, there may
Yeah.
be people that say, "Ah, you can't give rich people this and that." Those rich people are paying the freaking bills. And when Mohawk Paper closes its doors and they got to come up with $1 million, guess who's paying that freight?
Mhm.
You and I.
Yeah, that's right.
And it isn't like your water bill ain't high enough. My last water bill was $190. The one before that was $225. Sometimes over the course of the year, I'm paying over $1,000 in water. Now, if you lose 300,000 just from one building,
Yeah.
who's going to make that up? You and I and the taxpayer. But
Yeah,
the
that's going to be
city,
a big hurt.
that's right. If the city had experienced people who understood economic development, they'd be down there trying to work out deals. Now, I heard some bullshit, and I don't buy it for 1 minute. Yo, Steve Napier reached out. Steve Napier couldn't reach out unless it was for an apple pie. I'm sorry, because
Mhm.
he doesn't have no skills. No, I shouldn't
Yeah.
say apple pie. I meant pizza crust, because he handed out pizza crust recipes when he was running for mayor, right? But
Well, actually, it was the spaghetti, the pizza
no, I know.
sauce,
Pizza sauce. It was something.
Get your stuff together with
Yeah.
pizza sauce.
Yeah, just because you know how to make.
And plus, he gave you a pizza cutter.
Well,
Plastic
he
pizza.
can.
I
He should
still
take his.
have them.
He ought to take his pizza cutter down to Mohawk Paper and see if he can give him a gift and see if they'll stay in the freaking city. Because
Yeah.
that's, you know what, your pizza cutter and your pizza sauce ain't building nothing, ain't bringing in taxes, and it ain't saving Mohawk Paper.
Yeah, I'm
That's
going to
a
bring him
fact,
for the
John.
next podcast. I'll let everybody see my name.
I'll invite him on. Let's see if he comes on. I'm
Yeah.
going to try to get Pete Frangie. He's the head of the IDA now. You know,
Yeah.
he's the CEO. They pay him to be the head of the IDA. Love to
Mhm.
hear what they're doing as an IDA, because I don't see shit going on there either. I really don't. But it's a sad day for the city. But mark my words, I will eat Steve Napier's pizza sauce if I'm wrong.
That was by his grandmother, by the way.
I loved his grandmother. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, I remember sending her.
Charbonneau.
I sent her roses when she retired. She was a beautiful
Yeah,
woman, and
yeah,
I
she
loved
was
her
a nice
dearly.
person.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of her grandson. Um, but at the end of the day, I can't see Mohawk Paper staying in Cohoes. There's no room to grow. It's an old building. New technology needs to have, room to breathe and grow, and not be in an old building that's probably a nightmare to try to wire or get, internet or AI, all of the technical shit that you need.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine they're going to move to Waterford. They have land over there to build. Water is probably half the price. And
Well, we're selling the water to them over there.
yeah, and they're selling it about half the price that
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
selling it for here. But
yeah.
so
So
to the people of Mohawk Paper, I hope that you're safe. I believe you are. To the people in Crane, I'm really sorry that the city hasn't fought harder. But maybe, just maybe this new company, the new owner is going to buy it, keep it in the city. Everybody will get their job back, and that would be a great blessing. But don't believe it's because of the city of Cohoes. It's somebody who wants to buy it, and you have to have a place big enough to put it. And if they could keep
mhm.
it in Cohoes, that would be a blessing. But will they still make the money they were making? Will they still have the benefits? I don't know any of that. I can only tell you that as of today, rumor has it somebody does want to buy it and keep it in Cohoes. But as far as Mohawk Paper, I would think by the end of this year, they won't be in the city no more. They'll all be over in the other facilities. So,
Oh,
Timmy, I
well, we'll
want to jump
see
into,
here.
yeah, I want to
Yeah,
jump
look
into
at
one more
that.
story here if I
Yeah, we
can.
got. Look at. I was at the
Let me
public.
jump over first. Let me
Right.
just bring the screen up here. All right. So have
I
at it.
w- yeah. Now I was at this public safety committee meeting. It was chaired by Sean Higgins. Okay. By the way, we've been trying to get him on a podcast,
Sean, if you're
and
here to show, people want you to come on. They want to hear
yeah,
you.
we keep
Let's
hearing a lot
go.
of people, Sean. They're asking for when you're going to come on, Sean. So, but anyway, look at so two things I'll take out of that meeting. Okay. First off, when you're sitting there listening to someone comment, okay, you could tell something's just not right just by their body language, okay? But the mayor, he was invited to this meeting. He snubbed it. He didn't show up. But you did have the police chief there who spoke about things were going on with crime and all that other stuff in the city. He was pretty nice and professional about it. And then you had Chief Fod here, and two things struck me. One was he said that the reason why the city won't purchase a used ambulance is because they break down. But Sean, don't haven't they purchased used fire trucks? I mean, really?
Listen, look
Mm,
at
mm,
it's the stupidest comment. I guess it's a smart comment if you're stupid, but if you're not
right.
stupid, you realize it's the
Yeah,
stupidest
but
comment
I'll
because
take it a step further though. Keep your thought on this. A step further is I says to him, I said, look at didn't the EMS task force gave a report to the council and the mayor. I said, what do you think about that? And he said, well, I never saw it. So and I said, well, why not? You knew it was going on. You didn't even bother to ask. Well, it's not in my pay grade. They should have came to me. This is the bullshit that goes on. Okay, he's sitting there and he knows that's going on, and not even interested to ask, and to sit there and say we can't buy an ambulance because they break down. Come on, John, take
so
it.
listen, we have purchased and still continue to use old used fire trucks. I bought a fire truck from About Corners, so it was probably 10 years old when I bought it, so it's probably about 18 years. It's still running. It's still
Hmm.
being used. We've purchased many used pieces of apparatus. In fact, at one point when he was the fire chief, he convinced John McDonald to buy a fire truck that was so big that it didn't fit down the city streets,
Right, I remember
but it
that.
was
Okay,
used. It
it was
was
a ladder
used.
truck, right? Yeah, it was a ladder truck.
And the
Couldn't
island,
even make the
the
turns.
the island was running used pieces of apparatus. So used pieces of apparatus that are well maintained are good pieces of apparatus. So to say that you
Yeah.
have to go out and buy a used ambulance, listen, I told you before, used ambulances and used fire trucks, eh, uh, they work, especially when you're trying to start. This whole
Mhm.
ambulance thing, you're being fed a bunch of bullshit because A, killer don't want it. B, you're not going to get Joe Fod to give you his opinion. He's going to give you Keeler's opinion because he's got to carry the water for
And he
the
did. He
mayor.
did.
He's not,
The-
he's
yeah.
not even, he's an old dog here. He knows how to play politics better than
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah, and he looked that way in this meeting, and I'm going to tell you, it's just body language from the get go. Every question, he's sitting there rolling his eyes, and he didn't want to hear it, Sean.
Well, he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to be there because the bottom line is they don't give a shit what Sean Higgins says, right?
Yeah.
This is a strong mayor form of government. The mayor is the boss. He really is. But that doesn't mean that these council people can't stick together and say, okay, if that's the way it's going to be when it's time for your freaking budget, they don't have Billy the Lapdog who can override everything now, right? Maybe if they stick together, it doesn't mean that you have to stick together with the purpose of we're going to screw the mayor. You have to stick together for the purpose of saying, look, we only have one tool, and that's called the budget. And therefore, if you don't work with us, at least somewhat, when it comes time for your budget to give you all the things you want, guess what we're going to do? We ain't going to vote for it, right? Listen, don't give me the bullshit about used vehicles. Used vehicles are used all over the world. In fact, my car was brand new. I drove it for 10 minutes and the thing stalled. Okay. So new cars break down too, right?
Yeah, and
Don't
that
give
was
me
his
the
that was his biggest excuse there, and they break down, they break down, they break down. Sean, look at it, and they take it a bit further. Even if we had no ambulance service in Cohoes, okay, and someone called 911, the fire department's going to show up first anyway, and then they will decide if they need to bring in an ambulance. So why do we have to have someone stationed right here? If
listen, I will
they
tell you,
go into that.
I would tell you that the firefighters on the job now are trained better than the EMTs that are working on ambulances, right? Or equally. I shouldn't say they're trained
Yeah.
better. I think they're equally trained, but firefighters have careers that'll last a long time. Any of these young kids that are just EMTs come and go, right? They become an EMT to try to become a fireman
Yeah.
because that's usually one of the qualifications. So you don't get the best and the brightest as soon as they pull up. These are young kids, but if a fireman has been doing it for 15 years, he's pretty good. He's pretty experienced. And we have
seen it.
defibrillators. We have other medicines on the fire trucks, right? So firefighters always respond first anyway, right?
Yeah,
Now,
they do.
here's
Yeah.
what great leadership does. Great leadership says, we don't have an ambulance, but while we try to figure out how we're going to handle this, can you help us, Mohawk? Mohawk would be here in a drop of a bucket, but Fod doesn't like them, so he keeps them out. And he probably tells Keeler a bunch of bullshit. And since he's a dope, he buys into it. But
Yeah.
Fod is the reason that Mohawk's not here because he doesn't like them, right? You could go over to Troy and say, look, I know that this is not something you want to do, but for a short period of time, can you cover our island if we have a call? You could go to Colony and talk to your partners in politics in Colony and say, hey, if we have a call, can you send an ambulance to our city? Hey, Sheriff Apple, you have ambulances. Is there any way that you can help us out? If you have leadership, if you build relationships, there's ways to handle it. Look, when I first came on the fire department, we didn't have an ambulance in the city.
That's true.
And then
Yeah.
for the rest of my career, we had one. And
Yeah.
when one left, the other would come in. But sometimes there
Yeah.
was none because you will never have enough equipment to handle every emergency that happens. I've been on the job where we had 3 major fires happening within 10 minutes of each other. Get sent to a fire here, then you get a call for a fire down here. Then so when there's 3 fires burning at the same time, and these are big fires, Cohoes can't handle it himself. They have a
No.
relationship.
Yeah.
So they would have to figure that out. And that's what
Yeah.
great leadership does.
And this
We
is
don't
what
have that.
I even sent that to Sean in a message and said, look at Sean, kick him out, okay? Because the bottom line is, if you call 911, you're going to get the fire department, and if they can't move him or transfer, they're going to bring an ambulance in, okay? Kick him the hell out if you can't get a deal.
Well, at the
And
very
but
least,
they were talking about maybe, let's see if we can do a 2-year deal. Well, that's another $2.5 million, Sean.
yeah, and
You
with the
know,
potential Mohawk leaving,
and
what are you
on
gonna
top
do
of
then?
that, they're talking about adding another 4% onto that. And they did this to another uh, uh,
County.
county. I believe it was Freeport. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was another county. They did an agreement and a contract, and within 6 months, they wanted to renegotiate it. So what did the county do? They kicked them the hell out. Started their own fire department. And
Yeah,
that happened.
I think the bottom line is that Keeler is a dope, and he doesn't have no skills
Yep.
he's an invert. He doesn't have the skills that you need to be the mayor of a city because
Yeah.
you have to have the ability to build bridges. Fod has burned bridges because he doesn't like these people. And at the
Yeah.
end, Cahoes loses. If Cahoes spends $5 million on an ambulance service that's been free for 40 years, then that tells you there are a bunch of morons running this town because you can't spend that kind of money and still survive. You just can't. We don't have that kind of resources.
We're-
If they're going to
it's-
spend that money, it's coming from someplace else. Do you cut DPW? Do you cut the firefighters? Do you cut the police department? You already got the fire department working out of Scarecrow. I don't even know if that's the
they're
right word,
down.
but a skeleton crew, Scarecrow crew,
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
the hell you
sure.
want to call it. You don't have
Yeah.
enough firemen on a daily
Yeah,
basis.
and look at, I mean, even the police chief, what he said is, well, we hired 4 new police officers, but they're at the academy. It's going to be 10 months before we can get them out on the streets. So it's not when you hire somebody, they're in the car and they're out there. It takes time for them to filter into the system. And I would imagine, Sean, it might be the same way with the fire department. I'm
Listen, the
not
fire
sure.
department might not want to hear this.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm a straight shooting fool, and
Yeah.
I was the president of that place. I negotiate most of their
Yeah.
contracts, so they're enjoying a lot of benefits that I got them. But let me just be honest with you, right?
Mhm.
If the fire department does the work, you don't need 20 more new fucking firefighters.
Oh, God.
I didn't mean to say that. That word came
You
out.
said
It
that
wasn't-
F word.
I didn't even mean to say it, and it wasn't even
Okay.
part of what I was going into something else. But you don't need 20 more. You don't need to look at this report. And the report was okay, right? But to say you have to hire 20 firefighters, ridiculous. Of
It's
course, the
stupid.
city's going to come back and say to you, "Oh, you're out of
Yeah.
your mind. We can't afford that."
Yeah,
city
that's
of
FOD, that's another FOD line, by the
It's
way.
all lies. It's all
Yes, it is.
smoke and mirrors. Because here's what they do. FOD's not lying. He's just telling you the cream of the crop way to do it, like the Beverly Hills way, and
Mhm.
refusing to tell you the city of Cahoes a small mill town way,
Yeah,
right?
that's what's
when
going
he
on.
when he tells you things, he's not lying. Because I remember some of the things you asked me about. And I can't remember exactly what it was when I said he's not. When he talked about hiring off the civil service list, when he said, "Well, we took people with
Oh
all the
yeah,
95s."
he did say that at that meeting. He said, "Well, you know, all the people that got all the hundreds there, they went somewhere else." And he goes, so he goes, "We took all these other names," and he said they didn't want to work in codes; they want to work somewhere else. It just it
So
didn't,
he's not
didn't
lying to you,
smell
right?
right to me.
If
Yeah,
you're Albany County, you take the list of everybody from the county, right?
and
If
there's
you're a
2
city,
lists.
if you're a county, you take all the
Yes,
people from the county. So you have to go through a whole lot of people, right, to get down from the hundreds
yeah,
to the 90s to 85 to the 70, right? But a city creates its own municipal list.
it
So you have a
does.
city
Yeah,
list and an out of town list. So if the out of town guy has a 95 on his list, you won't even see it because you know what you do with those lists? You put it in your top drawer and say, I'm only hiring people from my city. I'm the mayor of Cahoes, Cohoes. So I'm going to
yeah,
hire kids from the city of Cahoes. I'm going to give them a job that's a career
yeah,
that they can grow into, take care of their family, and live a decent life. Isn't that
yeah,
my job as the mayor to make sure that I'm giving people in the city the best that they can have?
yeah. It's a pecking order
Okay,
in a
so
sense.
the
Yeah,
bottom line is if a kid's got a 70, then and you're going through the whole list, you give the kid with a 70 the opportunity because the list is bullshit. The test on the fire department has nothing to do with firefighting. I seen people who had 70s. I am Sean Morris with a 70 on the exam. I stayed there 26 years. I got awards for saving people's lives. I delivered babies. Okay. I had a great career. I got a 70 on the list. I know guys that got 95 who's afraid of a ladder.
hmm
He's afraid of
afraid to get
heights.
afraid to get wet.
He's afraid to get wet. So the bottom line is he's not lying because you can do that. But the reality is the city of Cahoes has never done that. You always took care of the people who lived here because that's your purpose. You're supposed to not close the parking lot down because they need it plowed. You're supposed to plow it and make it easier for them to park. You're not supposed to skip over the kids from Cahoes because he's got a 70 and some guy from Buffalo's got a 90. You give the
Well,
the kid from Cahoes the opportunity. He's got to go
yeah,
to school and learn.
and
Every
and
single thing you
mhm.
do, every time you wake up, every time you look at something that has to be done, you have to be taking care of Cahoes people because you're the mayor of freaking Cahoes. You're
Yeah,
not the
look,
mayor of
and
Albany or
right.
Schenectady.
And if you look at his pecking order, though, okay, his pecking order is for to make sure his daughter gets promoted into another position. Now the daughter gets a couple raises. We buy a Harley Davidson so that the his son can learn how to ride a Harley and as a police officer. You know, it's a pecking order, and his pecking order is for his own family first,
Listen,
opposed to the people at Cohoes.
when you're looking at the picture, it's easy
Yeah,
to say that, isn't it?
yes,
Because
it
he
is.
made sure that everybody he cares about used Cohoes as their advantage and gave
Hmm.
them jobs at Cohoes.
Hmm.
But then you're the mayor of the city now. See, all those other people got jobs before they were, he was the state trooper. So when they come,
Yeah,
he's the state head of the state police. So you got some benefits there. But he is now the mayor of the city. Every waking moment of my life, from the time I got up to the time I went to bed, and every moment in between was how do you give people from Cohoes a better life, better opportunities? They used to hire all lateral transfers to the police department. Now I get it, saves you money. You know what I did? I said no more, unless he lives in Cohoes. We'll
and
invest
Sean,
the money.
yeah. And Sean, it was I see John Large. He weighed in. I told you which county that kicked ambulance out. He's telling me in the comment it was Dutchess County.
Yeah,
So
I
thanks
didn't
for.
remember. I just remember you sent me
Yeah, I
something.
couldn't
Yeah,
remember. I know a county after they went in, had a contract, started say we need to redo the contract right away, and they said get the hell out, and that's what they did. You know what?
yeah.
They had balls. Where are we, Coles Council? Kick them out.
Yeah, I think I would say, first of all, Tim, if you told them you weren't going to renew their contract, you know what they would do?
They'd
They'd
probably
stay right here in the city because they're making millions of dollars off the
yeah.
transports to the hospitals and the ALS
Yeah,
transports, and so don't think that first of all you're paying them $1 million and they're probably making another $1 million or
on
half a
top of
million just on the insurance that people pay to go in the ambulance. So all
we're
they
paying
if you
them to
said
do business here.
that's right, that's why Troy Ambulance was here forever. We gave them all the business and they
Yeah,
stayed and made their money off the business.
it's and they would probably still be in business if we gave them 88
Well,
grand a
I'm going to
month.
tell you something. I know them well, and I
Yeah,
said they're probably home crying in their bourbon because they just did it for free, and this
yeah,
asshole gives them $1 million a year. Hey, listen,
yeah,
Timmy, there's a lot of things going on. We talked about a lot of things today. Let's just
yeah,
take a quick trip. I'm going to look on my phone. It's a lot easier for me, but let's just take a quick trip and recognize people that are watching.
yeah.
Scott
In the
Auburn,
comment
Ron
section.
Yuri, Diane. I know Diane Paul, whose husband has been part of being bullied for a long time, 70
Yeah,
year
Al
old man.
Paul. Yeah,
Yep.
Al. Yep.
She did say little Napoleon syndrome. I agree.
Yeah,
To my good friend Pammy, welcome. Hi, Shawnee. She says to me every show, I want to say hi to Pam.
yeah.
Um, Jeffrey, you say funny how it says Facebook user, but it's me, Jeffrey. Yeah, but you must be on Facebook because when you're on Facebook, that's where it picks you up from. Um, Miss Pauchek's watching. Billy Sprague is watching. My girl Joanne Doggett's watching. Tina Moran's watching. There's so many different comments and questions that are going off there, but
Pete. Yeah, we see
Pete
Pete
Casala,
Casala,
he's always watching.
and we see the comments, but we're
Yeah,
busy,
he
so we
just said
can't
to
get.
me, and it makes sense. Don't forget Saratoga site, $600,000 to tear that down. Where's that money coming from? I
Yeah,
have no idea. And Bobby Scanlon's, he knows everything about firefighting, believe
yeah,
me. And he's not a big fan of Joe Fods. He says Joe Fods used and antiquated.
yeah. He is.
And
Okay,
he's
he's
an
a,
all,
a dinosaur.
he knows better than all of us. Sean Van Sleet, I know they're screwing you guys over with your parking lot. I wish I could do something about it. Hopefully, the young kid will be mad enough to jump on and say what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
But hey, listen, we had a great show. Talked about a lot of stuff. It's been an hour and 3 minutes. 3 minutes past our bedtime. So thanks for joining Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit. Don't forget to go over and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell, continue to grow, continue to join us, and we'll keep bringing you the information as we see it. And it is factual to the extent that we can give you factual information. So
Yep. So
Timmy?
for my commenter out there that said, "Hey Timmy, is that a Chinese flag?" Well, now I'm in a music hall. So next week I'm gonna have to pick a new location. And have a good night, Sean.
Hey, hey, Bobby Scanlon. It's good to see
Yeah.
you too. God bless you. And Timmy, it's good to see you, everybody. And have a good night.